Welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we are demystifying Sphinx. That's the industry standard tool for generating professional, sleek documentation directly for your Python projects. Look, we all spend countless hours writing code, right? We agonize over every single line of logic, we debate variable names, but today we're focusing on how to ensure that code actually gets used by other human beings. Because let's face it, brilliant code that absolutely nobody understands, it's basically useless.
So, let's dive right in and address a pretty fundamental question. Why do we even need formal documentation when we've already built functional apps without it? Well, think back to when you first started programming. You were probably a solo coder, you wrote scripts just for yourself, you knew exactly how they worked, and everything lived perfectly right there in your own head. But when you transition to building real-world software, or you start collaborating on a team, that perspective has to shift entirely. You are no longer just writing code for the machine. You're writing it for the next developer who has to read it. And honestly, that developer might just be you 6 months from now, desperately trying to remember what on earth you're thinking.
You know, you might not even realize it, but you actually rely on Sphinx all the time. Every single time you've looked up a tricky aggregation function in Pandas, or checked the parameters for an algorithm in scikit-learn, or reviewed routing setups in FastAPI, you've been reading a Sphinx-generated website. These are some of the most robust, widely used libraries in the entire Python ecosystem. And mastering Sphinx, it gives you the exact same superpowers as the developers behind those massive projects. It lets you package up your hard work and present it to the world in a way that just screams reliability and professionalism.
Here is our roadmap for today. We'll cover the value of documentation, docstrings as our foundation, generating docs with Sphinx, markup languages and extensions, hosting with Read the Docs, and we'll wrap up with some best practices.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the value of documentation. The crucial point here is that if you intend for other people to use your library, they absolutely need to know what a function does, what arguments it expects, and how to use it correctly. We've all been there, right? Inheriting this massive, completely undocumented codebase, or trying to integrate some third-party tool that has literally zero instructions. Handing someone raw source code and expecting them to just figure it out by reversing engineering your logic is a recipe for immense frustration. Your users shouldn't have to become absolute experts in your internal architecture just to use a basic tool. Good documentation acts as a contract and a user manual, saving literally everyone countless hours of headaches.
Moving right along to Section 2, docstrings, the foundation of this whole process.
Now, a docstring isn't just your run-of-the-mill comment. Python actually treats these literal strings completely differently. Because it's the very first statement inside your function, class, or module, Python essentially bakes your human-readable explanation directly into the code itself. It makes it accessible through a given object's doc attribute and even through the built-in help function right there in your terminal. This is amazing because it perfectly bridges the gap between raw machine logic and plain English. The instructions live right next to the code they describe, making it incredibly hard to lose track of them.
But a genuinely well-structured docstring isn't just random text. It follows a clear, predictable format to ensure consistency across your entire project. You always want to start with a brief one-line summary. Just tell the reader, at a glance, what is happening. Then, if you need to, you dive into a more detailed explanation of any complex logic or edge cases. Finally, you clearly define each expected parameter, its data type, and exactly what value the function returns. When every single function in your library follows this exact same pattern, developers can literally skim your code and understand your API in seconds.
To make sure everyone is on the same page, several different documentation styles exist for formatting all this information. Google style and NumPy style are two particularly popular and super consistent choices for professional developers. They dictate exactly where the spaces go, how the parameters are listed, how returns are formatted, the whole shebang. Picking one of these industry standards and sticking to it strictly throughout your entire codebase is absolutely essential. It ensures that no matter who writes the function, the documentation always looks like it came from one single cohesive team.
Okay, let's get to the good stuff in Section 3, generating docs with Sphinx.
This workflow shows exactly how Sphinx performs its magic. After you install it and run the quickstart command to set up your basic directories, Sphinx actually combs right through your project's source code. It automatically extracts every individual docstring it finds, parsing all that Google or NumPy style formatting we just talked about, and then it generates a complete, highly professional HTML documentation website from them. I mean, think about that for a second. You don't have to write a separate website. You don't have to maintain a massive external wiki. You just write good code with good docstrings, run a single command, and boom, you have a fully navigable, searchable website ready to share with the world.
Let's move to Section 4, Markup Languages and Extensions.
So out of the box, Sphinx uses its own native language called reStructuredText. And don't get me wrong, it's incredibly powerful, but it can be a little complex to learn if you've never seen it before. However, the ecosystem has evolved beautifully. For developers who are already super comfortable with Markdown, which, let's be real, is pretty ubiquitous these days thanks to tools like GitHub, you can easily use that familiar format instead. You just hook in a highly convenient extension called myst. This drastically lowers the barrier to entry, letting you write your documentation in a syntax you probably already use every single day.
And this brings us to the autodoc extension, which is quite possibly Sphinx's most important and widely loved feature. It allows Sphinx to automatically pull your documentation directly out of those docstrings we wrote in our Python files. This means you only ever write one single docstring per function. Sphinx automatically does all the heavy lifting to generate the web page. It perfectly embodies the do not repeat yourself principle. Actually, scratch that. It takes it to another level. If you update a function's parameters, you just update the docstring right next to it, and your website updates automatically on the next build. There's zero risk of your code and your website drifting out of sync because they're powered by the exact same source of truth.
Sphinx also lets you effortlessly interlink your pages through cross-referencing. You can create genuine hyperlinks between separate pages, say, linking from one function's documentation straight over to a related class or module. This becomes absolutely crucial for guiding users through larger, more complex projects. Instead of users having to rely on some clunky search bar to find related concepts, they can click through your API naturally, exploring the architecture just like they'd navigate a well-organized textbook.
All right, Section 5, Hosting with Read the Docs.
So your docs are generated, but where do they actually live? Enter Read the Docs. This is a separate, dedicated platform rather than a Python package itself, but it is absolutely vital to the modern workflow. It provides free hosting for open-source project documentation. And what's truly a game-changer here is that it automatically rebuilds and republishes your website every single time you push an update to your GitHub repository. It acts exactly like a continuous integration workflow. Remember the old days of downloading out-of-date PDF manuals or emailing static HTML files around? Yeah, those days are completely gone. With Read the Docs, the exact moment your team merges a new feature, your live public documentation updates instantly to reflect it. It's completely hands-off once you set it up.
And let's talk about looks, because visual styling is a highly practical consideration. Applying a theme requires just a tiny handful of configuration changes, but it instantly transforms Sphinx's default basic appearance into something incredibly polished. The Read the Docs theme in particular is massively popular. By just flipping that switch, you instantly make your project look exactly as reliable and professional as those massive globally recognized libraries we talked about at the start of this explainer. It builds immediate trust for sure.
Finally, let's bring it all home in Section 6, Best Practices and Summary.
Let's put this into a real-world perspective. Imagine you're maintaining an internal Python library at a company like Uplatz. Several entirely separate teams actively rely on it to do their daily jobs. By writing clear docstrings and using Sphinx, any of your colleagues can easily understand exactly how to use your library correctly, all on their own without ever needing to dig into the underlying source code. You empower them effortlessly. And better yet, you stop being the bottleneck answering the exact same Slack messages over and over again about how a function works because your documentation does all the heavy lifting for you.
So, to summarize today's explainer, these 3 core practices will absolutely elevate your code from simple, isolated scripts into robust, professional-grade software. First, always write clear, structured docstrings using a consistent style like Google or NumPy. Second, take full advantage of Sphinx's autodoc extension rather than ever duplicating documentation by hand. And finally, use Read the Docs to keep everything reliably up to date automatically. This specific triad of practices is quite literally the secret sauce of professional Python development.
Now, before we wrap up, a quick sneak peek. While Sphinx is the powerful, traditional standard underlying essentially every major Python library out there, we'll be rounding out our view of the documentation landscape in our very next explainer. We'll be looking at mkdocs, which is a much simpler, strictly Markdown-based alternative that offers a highly streamlined approach if you just don't quite need the heavyweight features of Sphinx.
I'll leave you with this final thought to ponder as you build out your upcoming projects. Documentation isn't just some chore or an afterthought. It is the critical bridge between your code and the actual people who need to use it. Now that you understand the exact tools the pros use to build that bridge, how are you going to elevate your own code base tomorrow? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and we'll catch you in the next one.